Hello everybody, what's going on, and welcome back to another Hytale Workshop. If you're new to the workshops, let me tell you what this is all about. It's about bringing a community together, talking about Hytale, developing all sorts of things together. Now this is our second workshop that we've done, and we're going to continue on that mini game that we started last week, Land versus Sea. Now we don't know when Hytale's coming out, right? So over the course of the next weeks and months and possibly even years, we'll be developing a whole bunch of stuff together as a community. Mini games, factions, biomes, we'll do it all together just because it was a lot of fun kind of coming together as a community, sharing ideas, kind of working through different concepts and putting it all down on paper to hopefully one day put these all into practice, maybe a mod or some sort of development as a community. But for now, we're going to continue with Land versus Sea, that mini game we started last week. And if you are new to the stream, you're going to want to go quickly watch that recap video that I put out yesterday. It's really short, just gives you kind of a snapshot of everything that we did during the first video, so that this time when we're starting with classes today, you'll be caught up. And that's exactly where we're going to start, because that's where we left off last week. We were developing classes for Land versus Sea. Now, just a quick recap here. We started with the Overlord class, which was one of the 40 classes that we had developed, basically just coming up with the name. So we're going to start back there because we weren't quite finished with the Overlord, and we're just going to keep moving down the list and working through classes. Again, this document, which I'm going to share right now with you, if you guys don't have the link anymore. So that's the document link. You guys can go in there. Editing is back open. Go to the bottom if you want to add any ideas. Nixon did a great job putting info dump sections down there, and Nixon is in the chat with me again, helping out. Hey, Nixon.
How's it going, guys?
So there's the setting info dump, the game mode info dump, the class info dump. There's all sorts of info dumps down there. Feel free to add anything that you guys want. Just leave the stuff up top. Just don't touch that stuff. That's for me and Nixon to work on. That's kind of like the official ideas. Everything below that is more of the like community suggestion stuff. So we're going to keep working through our Overlord, and all we had left to do with the Overlord is come up with his mouse click 1 and mouse click 2 abilities. We already came up with his 3 abilities, his ultimate and his passive, but we never actually came up with the mouse click 1 and mouse click 2. Now, I had some ideas for mouse click 1 and mouse click 2, but I wanted to run them by you guys since that's what we were doing last week. So the Overlord, very slow. He's all about defensive capabilities, protecting his teammates, things like that. So one of the things that I was thinking about for the mouse click 2, we had said that his arm was this massive arm. Instead of holding a shield or some sort of defensive thing, his arm was actually his shield. So I was thinking mouse click 2, and remember, we're trying to create classes that are unique, that are not so cookie cutter as to like, he's got a shield, he brings it up. So for the mouse click 2, I think he should be able to bring his arm up as some sort of defensive position, but he can't move at that point, right? So one of the things with the Overlord is that he has vulnerabilities. So bringing that arm up, he's blocking himself from all frontal damage, but he's exposed everywhere else. So he can't move, he can't turn, but he's got like a 90% damage reduction from the front. So that was just the idea that I was playing around in my head for his mouse click 2, but I'm open to suggestions or any ideas that you guys may have for a mouse click 1 and mouse click 2 for our Overlord. And then once we're done with that, we're going to move on to our next class, which is the Necromancer. I don't know what music this is, but I don't like it. We don't know that, Antonio. In terms of Hytale, we have no idea if there's going to be controller support or not. So we're going to call this ability... we already have Stand with me. Nixon, what should we call this ability? The defensive one.
I don't know. I'm not good with names.
But how about something like Protect the Front?
Guys, we need a name.
We need a name for this defensive ability. Lego says, I imagine M1's being simply swinging his weapon, similar to Reinhardt. Yeah, I like that too. I'm totally fine with that. I mean, I don't think mouse 1 and mouse 2 have to be overly complicated, right? He's got a number of abilities that are going to kind of define who he is. But I think the mouse click 1 is just a simple sword swing. That's fine with me. And did we determine what weapon he has? We didn't, right?
I
Safeguard. I like that name, Lego. That's a good name. So one of the things, Antonio, that we decided with the Overlord is that he was not going to have any sort of movement abilities. His whole, like, we don't want every character to have the exact same moveset. We want him to be balanced, which is something that we have to deal with way down the line. But in terms of his mobility, we didn't want him to be a mobile character. So no charge, no jump, no leap, nothing like that, because that would really make him kind of overpowered. Overlord is a land-based character. He's our first tank on the land team. So Safeguard for mouse click 2. Overlord raises his left arm, protecting his front. Oops. Reducing all incoming damage from the front by, well, we're just going to give it an arbitrary number for now. Obviously, these numbers are all going to have to change at some point. By 90%. During Safeguard, the Overlord can't move or turn. I think that's pretty fair. Super defensive ability that he can hold indefinitely, but he can't move, can't turn. And he already has weak points, so this is a way for players to capitalize on the fact that he's kind of standing in one place. All right, mouse click 2. Let's call it Mighty Swing. We all cool with that? He is a big hulking fellow. Lego, are we thinking that this is like different? Because Reinhardt's multiple. It's like it's like front swing, back swing, right? Uppercut. Is it something like that? There's like it's like a 3 swing type of sequence.
There's 40 classes.
There are 40 classes. Oh, that's a cool idea. So it's a 3 swing sequence. The last swing is a crit, because he's already got a low damage. He's already a low damage character. That crit would be really cool. Nixon, do you want to explain to Mithrandir what we're doing right now?
Yeah, so basically we're developing a game called Land versus Sea. This is a mini game that we're hoping to develop in Hytale. And we're just kind of working through right now the classes of what different classes will be in the game. We have 40 different classes, different class names, 20 for the land team, 20 for the sea team.
So the Overlord swings his weapon in a sequence of 3 moves. The final move, if the final move lands, it crits. Wait, I'm sorry, reading back. How about jab, then right hook, then uppercut? So he's using a weapon, Marshall. We have actually some brawlers, and that's probably going to come into play then. Lego, I think he needs some sort of self-heal to consume damage, even if the strongest of damage resistance doesn't last forever. Yeah, I don't think he has any sort of healing, because the concept was that the healers were going to heal him up. If he had some sort of healing or self-heal, it would kind of take away from the healers themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool, Ramor. Do we like that idea better? Do we like that the last hit kind of tosses the enemies back? I mean, he already has an ability to move players around, right? Because the Fisher ability has some sort of rooting effect to it, and his backhand hits everybody in a 180-degree arc. Do we want the last ability to crit, or do we want the last ability to send somebody flying? It's an interesting concept. I'm open to either of them, to be honest with you. Antonio says the knockback. What do we think? Knockback or crit, guys? Let us know in the chat here. Knockback or crit for that 3rd weapon swing. Because I'm open to either of them. Oh, okay. So like a mini crit with a knockback. Yeah, I'm okay with that too. If the final move lands, it does a little more damage and slightly knocks back. So it would probably only hit one, right? Like if it's an uppercut, it would have like more of like a line attack, so it would only really hit one. Yeah, we'll start there. We'll start there. We got a lot of classes to go through, guys. Today's all about classes, so we'll start there. We'll go back, you know, whenever, and we'll go back all through this. So this is our Overlord class. So this is going to kind of be the bare bones to all the classes moving forward. We have the vibe, the key features, the weaknesses, the abilities, and then, you know, obviously, as you can see, there's a lot to consider with each of these characters. So I'm just going to quickly grab the headlines for the Necromancer. We'll move on to the Necromancer. Remember, the Necromancer is a tank class for the land team. All right. Am I doing this right? Yeah, I am. Okay. All right, so let's start wrapping our heads around a new class, the Necromancer. What is he going to be like? Oh my god. So bad at this. Will you guys make character models for each class? Maybe cosmetics. Yeah, we don't. Ethereal. We really don't know where it's going after the concept phase. This is really just the concept phase of everything. So we're working together just to come up with the ideas, and then we'll figure out the execution later. All right, so guys, starting with the Necromancer, just start putting your ideas in the chat here. In terms of a vibe, you know, when you see the Necromancer on the battlefield, what is the first thing that you're gonna like when you're playing him? What should you feel like defines him as a Necromancer tank? So he's a tank. He's not a reviver or a healer. So that's important. That's important to remember. We have dedicated healers for each of the teams. So for me, obviously he's not kind of like that hulking, brutish thing. Yeah, so I'm kind of with Steven here. So self-buffing minions, but he's close range. He's not really bulky, but with a big hitbox, but uses it on. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So he's a frontline character, but he's almost like a step back. You know what I mean? He's like a few steps back from being on the front line because he's using all of his minions to kind of overwhelm the enemies. So and again, we have to talk about this too. Is he a range character or is he a melee character? Right? Tanks don't have to be melee characters. He could be a short range magic user, right? Be on the front line still. So all right, so the vibe for him, let's just see what we said for big tank, heavily armored, damage sponge. All right, so this guy, he's summons cannon fodder. Yeah, absolutely. Mid-range, short range with some mobility. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. All right, so the Necromancer he overwhelms enemies. Oops, can't spell. Overwhelms enemies with minions. Actually, let's do this.
Rid of the other two tanks.
Say that again.
Did you get rid of the other two tanks?
Did I by accident?
You might have gotten rid of them. I only see Necromancer and Overlord.
Ah, boy. Hold on.
What the other two are.
Hold on. I'll go back to the changes. See full history. Let's see here. They are the Dragoon and the Beast Tamer. If you want to add them back in. All right. So overwhelms enemies with minions. He's a short range tank. Short range magic user. Actually, let's put that first. Short range magic user that relies on overwhelming his opponents and buffing his allies. Are we cool with that? That seems like kind of where we were heading with him. All right. So let's just... That is a pretty big package, but he's going to have some weaknesses. Don't forget, he's going to have weaknesses. So starting with key features, let me just copy and paste what I had for the other guy down here, right? So this is what we had for the Overlord. All right, so obviously this is not the Necromancer. This is what we're going to do for the Overlord here. So is he himself a low damage dealer as well, right? Because his minions are going to deal damage as well. So low damage, poor self defense. Makes complete sense to me, right? Because the idea is if you break through his minions, he's done. If you are not overwhelmed by the minions, like if you just get through that line of whatever we decide he can summon, done. He's dead. Poor self-defense. Low mobility. Are we going with low mobility with him as well? Yeah, he's not a good combatant. He is all about his minions. All right, medium mobility. Okay. Low damage, poor self-defense, medium mobility. And do we want to give him some kind of buffing capability for his allies? As, you know, like the Overlord was a defensive character, like team defense. I feel like the Necromancer has to have some sort of like team buffing. All right, so he's got team buffing abilities. Kanab, what we're doing is we're developing a game. This is our Hytale Workshop series where we bring the community together and talk about different concepts. Today we're working on our Land versus Sea minigame, and we just put a recap video on our channel if you want to go check that out really quick. We're going to be doing this for at least an hour, if not an hour and a half. So go check that out and come back so you know exactly where we are at. His primary. All right, so hold on. Before we get into abilities, guys, let's get weaknesses out of the way too. Let's get weaknesses out of the way here. So low health pool, right? Low health pool. Is he going to be a resource character, right? Like he can only summon as much as, you know, he must have no. Okay, all right, throwing this idea out there. So he's a resource-based character, ranged character. If he attacks, he gains his resource back. He has to land attacks to gain his resource back. So the more he lands his range hits on enemies, the more enemies he can summon, right? So that kind of increases the skill of the player. The player has to have skill, has to land hits on the enemy to get back that resource to summon more of the skeletons or whatever we decide. You get what I'm saying? All right. So he's got a low health pool. He is resource dependent, and we'll get into that on the abilities. Low health pool. We'll do low health pool, low armor. What else in terms of weaknesses? Easy to flank. Are we going to go with something like easy to flank? Thank you, man. I appreciate that. We're working hard over here at the Game Gurus. Easy to flank. All right, so low health pool, resource dependent, easy to flank. Takes extra damage from crits. That's interesting. Vulnerable to fast-moving scout classes. Prone to stuns. That would be interesting, Ramor. I think we have to develop the game, like the concept of the game a little bit more before we get that far. I mean, Lego, the strengths are definitely going to come in the abilities. I mean, his key features are that he... do we not do... Yeah. His key feature is that he has overwhelming, like the ability to overwhelm. You know what I mean? I guess we should probably put that in key features. Ability to overwhelm. overwhelm opponents. All right, we can do 3. It doesn't have to be 4 weaknesses. Low health pool, low armor, resource dependent, easy to flank. That makes sense to me. That's perfectly fine. All right, so let's start with the abilities here. So I'm just gonna break this out so everybody can see it. Mouse click 1. Mouse click 2. Ability 1. Ability 2. Oops. Ability 3. Ult. And passive. All right, so we were already talking about the passive right here a few seconds ago. With every time he lands a hit, he gains resources back. That would be his passive, right? So I don't know what that's called. Let's call what would we call something like that? Siphon energy, siphon, raise the debt. No, that wouldn't make sense. Soul Harvest. Yeah, I'd like that. Nice one. Soul Harvest. All right, so his passive is called Soul Harvest. Every time the Necromancer lands a hit on an enemy, he gains back every time the Necromancer lands a hit on an enemy, he gains back. I don't want to say mana. Like, I don't want him to be a mana-based class. I'm just trying to think of, like, what he would be. Undead energy, something like that. I guess we don't have to really specify that right now. Soul Harvest. Every time the Necromancer lands a hit on his enemies, he gains back necrotic energy. I like that. Necrotic energy. Used to necrotic energy, which is used to cast his other abilities. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. All right, so mouse click 1 has to be some sort of just ranged attack, right? That's his bread and butter attack that he uses to activate Soul Harvest. So what are we going to call that ability, and what is that going to look like? I mean, and we have to think through this too. Is he going to have some sort of wand? Yeah, staff, wand. What is he going to have? Staff gives us a little bit more of an opportunity to do other abilities, but again, he's really about the summoning, so...
Does he need a staff? Why couldn't you just do it from his hands?
He could do it from his hands. Like a scythe, or he could have a spell book. He could have like a spell book.
Oh, look, would be cool.
Spell book. How about like a one-handed scythe and a spell book? Is that cool, or is that kind of lame?
And I like it.
Yeah, we cool with that? All right, cool. We're going with that. All right, so we're going to call it... What is this first ability called? Yeah, book scythe, but the scythe is the one... Either he can shoot the spell out of the book, or he can shoot the spell out of the scythe. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, he could be holding a skull, too. That's kind of cool. Instead of a scythe, he's holding a skull and a book. And the skull kind of like... The skull shoots the beam out of the skull. That's kind of cool. Huh, that's pretty neat. All right. A lot of ideas going on here. Hold on. Guys, don't write up here, please, in this section. If you want to add your ideas, put them down at the bottom in the dumping area, please. All right, a sickle for mouse 1 that reaps much. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking with the scythe, like, it's fine if it's a scythe because he's, he uses it, but he's a ranged character. So does it make more sense to do something where he's holding like a skull, or just like has a gauntlet, like an undead gauntlet type of thing? I'm open to any of it. I just think the sickle, where it's a cool idea, this doesn't quite scream range to me. You know what I mean? Sickle and Hammer. He's a Necromancer. Doesn't make any sense. All right, we don't have to worry about that quite yet. So his first ability is the Necrotic Blast, right? Is that what somebody said? Necrotic Blast? Right? So Necrotic Blast is his mouse 1. Shoots a... shoots... I don't know. Not a ball. It wouldn't be a ball. It would be like a beam. There it is. Beam of necrotic energy. Necrotic energy in a straight line.
Oh, last when you deal damage. That's hilarious.
Say that again. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. We're getting to that Eternal. Eternal. We're getting to that. So shoots a beam of necrotic energy in a straight line. If the beam hits an enemy, it activates Soul Harvest. All right, so very simple. Beam of necrotic energy. If it hits the enemy, it activates Soul Harvest, which gives you back some of that necrotic energy. All right, perfect. Mouse click 2. All right, so now we have to make an important decision. Is mouse click 2 going to be his quick summon, or is it going to be some sort of other ability? Like, is he just going to be a straight summoner, or is he going to have other abilities to augment his summons? Like, mouse click 2 could easily be some sort of like summon undead or summon, skeleton. Lego says M2 wall of flesh. Summon a wall of minions in front of you to block damage. Oh, that's cool. It stops you from moving for a moment. Well, why would you want yourself to stop? Why would you want to stop moving? That's not a good idea. You want to keep moving or you'll die. Oh, I see. I think that's a cool. I mean, I think we're thinking now that M2 should be some sort of like movement control ability, right? We have the wall of flesh idea. We have the hands coming out of the ground idea. So it should be some sort of movement impairing thing for the opposing team. Do we want to do some sort of like ring? Kind of like the ring of zombies in Heroes of the Storm? Or do we want to do a wall? Do we want to do a knockback? Open to everything. Nixon, what do you like for Mouse 2?
I kind of like the wall of flesh kind of idea, kind of where like to block damage.
Yeah, so basically you right click, it sends people on top of it flying. That's funny. I like Barriers of Bones. I like Barrier of Bones better than I like Flesh, just because Wall of Flesh is like a little gross, in my opinion. It's a wall. We can move back from it, but if it has a ring, he has to deal with all of them around it. He can't move for a minute and stun. All right, let's mouse click 2. I like the ideas. Mouse click 2, we're going with Barrier of Bones. I like that name. Ramor is all about the names today, man. You're killing it with the names. Barrier of Bones. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna have movement impairment. He's all about overwhelming. We did enough movement impairing with the other with the Overlord, so we want to make sure that each one feels completely different from the last one. All right, Barrier of Bones. After, so he's got to, and this is another question for the stream right now. Does he have to cast all of these spells, or are these instant? Necrotic Blast should be an instant spell, but what about Barrier of Bones? Is that an instant spell? You know, kind of like May? Is it May? Ice Wall in Overwatch, where she basically, it's an instant ability, but she has to choose where it is. So what if it's, so the spell itself is instant, but it takes a second for the Barrier of Bones to pop up? How about that? Yeah, no, I like that. All right. So I'm going to put this with each of these two, since he's our first range character that we're doing. Instant cast. Instant cast. The Necromancer chooses a location to summon a solid wall of bones, blocking opponents. The Necromancer chooses a location to summon a solid wall of bones, blocking opponents from moving through it. The Barrier of Bones takes 1 second to form after being cast. All right, are we cool with that? Does that make sense to everybody? So the Necromancer, he chooses a location where to summon the Barrier of Bones. Instant spell, but it takes a second for it to form. All right, cool. I like that. All right, let's get into his abilities, his real abilities. Yeah, Cameron, there's a recap video of our first Hytale workshop. We just put that out yesterday, just so you can get caught up. We talks about everything that we did for the first workshop, and it will allow you to kind of see where we're at this point for this stream. So it'll only take a few minutes to watch the video. We're going to be streaming for a while, so go watch that, come back so you know exactly where we're at in the process here. All right, so his first ability, it's got to be some sort of summon. What are we doing? This is a low cooldown summon. So what is he going to be able to summon? Yeah, I'm with you, Patrick. Let's get away from skeletons or zombies. Something different. I like the idea of like something smaller for the first ability, like Ethereal said, like summon shadow, maybe like 3 small shadows that crawl towards the enemy, something like that.
Why don't we get the void in here, like some of those void creatures, like those
that's cool.
floating eye things?
Yeah, like some.
This is a Hytale.
Those would be pretty big for the first, like something smaller, maybe summon bats, like Willie said.
Could. I think it's just smaller. I don't know if we can mod it and just.
Oh, I'm sure we could.
That's true.
Lego makes a good point. He is not a void necromancer. He's an undead. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, that. Fun ideas out there.
Hound of Death. I like that kind of idea. Shadow Wolf. That's a cool idea. Hound of Death. How do we feel about like summoning? So his first ability summons two wolves, 2 small wolves, something like that. Yeah, maybe for a hunter. This is tough. Yeah, I think now that's kind of the crossroads we're at. We're trying to figure out if he's undead, what he summons as compared to like a void character, because we do have some more like darkish void characters in the game already. Just trying to figure out what his first summon should be. The first thing, so this is going to be the summon that's a lot more frequent, right? He's going to be able to use this ability more often. It's going to have a lower necrotic energy cost. So, you know, zombies, skeletons, they make sense, but we want to try and do something a little bit different. Just a little different. A shotgun blast of bats. I like the bats idea. Bats are kind of cool. Yeah, the only thing about reanimation that I'm worried about, Lego, is like depending on the game itself, you know, like you may not have corpses around. So like his first ability shouldn't be dependent on if there's corpses around. It's not that we don't want it. We were just trying to think of if there was something more unique, Ramor. That was all. Maybe Antonio. So we need at least... Well, we got 3 abilities and an ult, right? That's true. Patrick makes a good point. We can just go with summon shadow creature, right? Summon creature. They could just have like kind of like a
shadow of himself.
Oh, that's kind of a cool idea too. This is a tricky one. This is definitely a tricky one. Oh, that's a cool idea. I like Steven's idea. What do you guys think of Steven's idea? Steven said night pack. Summon a bunch of shadowy creatures like bats and wolves. Like, so smaller creatures. That's his first ability. Smaller creatures that he can summon. 2 or 3 of them. It could be randomized. I think that's a really good idea. So what do you call it? Night pack. I like that idea too. All right, so night pack. Oh, I gotta put that in the wrong spot. Sorry. Night pack. Summons. Should it be randomized? Right? Like, so should he have the ability to summon 1 to 3 random? All right, so hear me out. Hear me out before we get into it. So it's like summon 1 to 3 random minions to fight for you, and the minions could be either like a bat, a skeleton, a shadow dog. So you could end up getting like 3 bats, or 2 bats and 1 skeleton, or 1 bat and 2 hounds of death. You get what I'm saying? So there's kind of like a random component to it that kind of keeps things interesting. Hey, Redacted, welcome, man. All right, cool. We're gonna go with that then. If everybody likes that, and for anybody who just joined, I know the numbers just crept up a little bit. So we're working on our Land versus Sea mini game. If you were not here for our first Hytale workshop, I put out a video yesterday, which is a recap of the first workshop, just so you know what we're doing. It's a crowdsourcing stream series where we build different Hytale concepts together. And right now we're working on a mini game called Land versus Sea. All right, so here, let's finish up Night Pack. So summons anywhere from 1 to 3 lesser minions. The minions can vary. Minions can vary in number and variety. Are we thinking? No, Cameron, we do not. This is all strictly idea based at this point. In terms of the numbers that the Night Pack, do we think there should be a cap on Night Pack, or should he, if he has the necrotic energy, should he just continue to be able to summon these things? Right, that's what I'm. Well, I don't, that would be pretty hard to pull off, right? Like, you wouldn't be able to choose how much necrotic energy you'd use. It has to have a set value. But I think the idea with Night Pack is that if he constantly keeps hitting his left mouse click, can he keep using Night Pack, or should there be a cap? Maybe only summon 1 minion at once, but you can spam it up to 3 times. Yeah, if we put too many restrictions on him, then it feels like he can't overwhelm the enemy. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of weaknesses, but he has to be able to overwhelm the enemy. A max of 12 total minions, that's not a bad idea, depending on what the rest of the abilities are. Well, that's the Swiggity Smith. That's kind of the idea. He is a weak character, right? So if he doesn't have minions out, he's going to die pretty much every time. He's got very little to defend himself. We can say 12 at first. We can say there's a cap of 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. That means he could summon, if it works out, remember, it's a variable spell, so anywhere between 1 and 3 minions are going to come out. You know, getting 12 minions out at a time is pretty challenging if we're just talking about the night pack. If we're talking about in total, that would make a little bit more sense. And then he'll obviously have some ability in there, right? So like if your ult is ready and your ult is a summon, you're going to be able to summon the ult and it'll just kill one of your lesser minions or something like that. You know what I mean?
Guys, make sure you're putting all your ideas in the info dumps.
Yeah, leave this top section for us, guys. Put your ideas below in the bottom of the doc. All right, so we're going to put a cap of 12 on this for now. Summon anywhere from 1 to 3 lesser minions. Minions can vary in number and variety. Only 12. A max of 12. Night pack. Give him 12 minions and it summons 3 at a time. You can use... Well, here's what I was thinking. And just as an extra point for this, guys. Tell me what you think. So, there's a randomness to him, right? There's a randomness to him that his idea is you need to try and build up your army as big as possible. So you keep summoning your creatures, whatever. What if by summoning... So, say you get lucky and you have 3 hounds, right? The more of that same creature that's out, those creatures get a slight buff. Right, so if your RNG is really good, you have, say, 4 Hounds of Death and 5 Skeletons out. The more of that one thing you have out, he gets those enemies get or those minions have a slight buff. They do a slightly more damage because remember, he's a low damage, very low damage character. He does not do a lot of damage himself, so the damage has to come from the minions. Kind of seems cheap if you get bad minions. Yeah, but you can keep summoning minions as long as you're landing hits on enemies. You can keep summoning enemies to try and get, you know, a better. You see what I mean? Jason, that's not going to be a problem. One of the things we talked about last time was that players were only going to be able to pick one class at a time because there's so many classes. There can only be one of each. Yeah, that's what I mean, Lego. Maybe make each buff each other based on how many you... Oh, you see, like, how many you have out depends on the buff as opposed to how many of that one particular one. Yeah, redacted. Your left mouse click... your left mouse click gives you back energy. The only thing that worries me about that, Lego, is, like, say you go into a battle with 12 minions already out and they're already super buff. Like, is that fair? I suppose it is. Because then, if they start to die, then you have to try and get them back. Because then that would take away from the Necromancer himself. Like, the Necromancer has to have some sort of skill-based component to it, redacted. Well, if they die, you're dead. Yeah. But the energy has nothing to do with the minions themselves, right? The energy has everything to do with the Necromancer landing hits on the enemy. All right, summon anywhere. Let's how about this? The more minions you have out, the higher the cooldown on the summoning ability. I like it, Ramor, but I think the way we were taking this character is that he's completely dependent on the necrotic energy, right? So, like, the abilities don't have any cooldowns. Like, they don't have any, like, long cooldowns, but you have to keep getting necrotic energy to summon them, right? So if you spend all of your energy on, you know, the ability 3 character, say it's like the Void Eye, like Nixon mentioned, like, that's 50 necrotic energy. You can only do that twice, right? If you have 100 necrotic energy, you can only do that twice, and then you have to start gaining back necrotic energy, right? So he's completely energy dependent. So, like, same thing, like Night Pack, sure, it could be 10 necrotic energy, but you still have to keep gaining that necrotic energy. Makes so the abilities don't have a cooldown, but only require. Yeah, that's what I mean. They don't have cooldowns, but you have to have the energy to use them. And he's got a hard cap on his minions. Yeah, right. The ult's obviously going to be different. All right, summon anywhere from 1 to 3 lesser minions. Minions can vary in number and variety. Let's just keep it simple. The more minions you have out, the more minions you have summoned, the more damage they do. Some sort of some companion buffing system. So it's purely based on yes, Steven, exactly. So the necrotic energy only happens when the character lands hits with your necrotic blast. That's the only way you get necrotic energy back. There's no regen. There's no, energy over time. It's just purely your skill. Because that's the depth right there. All right, so let's move on to his ability number 2. This is going to be some sort of like medium summon, in my opinion, right? Oh, Frice. I don't know what that means, man. I am so sorry. I don't speak. Is that Russian? Hey, I understand. Hi. I would say you probably start with half necrotic energy. Like you can summon you can summon something to help you, right? Because if you're so weak and you run into battle and you have no necrotic energy, you're just sitting there without any minions. You know what I mean? That seems bad because it requires her to use and necrotic. Well, you have to have something to get you into battle. You know what I mean? We'll hang around. No, they're Alexander. I think, in my opinion, the summons are always going to be with the character until they are dead. I hear you, Redacted. I hear that. But here's the thing. Again, I'll say it again. He is such a weak character that if he doesn't have minions, he's going to die. The problem is that Necrotic Blast requires necrotic energy to use, and it's the only way. No. Necrotic Blast doesn't require any energy. Necrotic Blast is how you get the energy back, right? So Necrotic Blast is just your left mouse click. You can spam that, but it activates the passive Soul Harvest. Yeah. All right. So we need a medium-sized minion type character. Need a medium-sized minion type character. I was thinking something like a leaper, something that's got a little bit more volatility to it, where like the night pack is pretty standard, right? They just rush an enemy and they kind of act as like a pseudo wall to protect you from the enemy. But I'm thinking for this second summon, it should have some sort of like ability to jump around to be a little bit harder for the enemy to kill. You know what I mean? So like either it's like a ranged kind of character, or a medium range type character, or something that moves around quite sporadically. So enemies have to spend a little bit more time like focusing them instead of just like kind of slashing in front of them and killing the night pack. This second minion should be something that's a little bit more challenging to kill. Poison dart frog, something like that. We do have one of the characters is a witch doctor, so that doesn't quite fit this undead theme we're going with. Corrupted phoenix, Oh, the crawlers. That'd be cool. The crawlers would be cool. That seems a little overpowered, Ramor. Not going to lie. I like the crawlers. I'll tell you why I like the crawlers. Because the crawlers are smaller. They're a little bit more challenging to kill. They're probably faster. Yeah. I would say not birds because we have bats in the night pack. Bats are part of the night pack. Possibly. That seems like an ability 3 type of thing. Some sort of like bigger, hulking, tanky type thing that protects you. I think ability 2 has to be a pure DPS minion. Like, this is the minion that you summon if you want to do DPS. I like the crawlers, I'm not going to lie. So we're going to go with summon. Oh, that's creepy as hell, Steven. Ah, that's creepy, man. Yes, that ability 3 is going to be a protector minion, 100%. All right, summon crawler. Yeah, it probably is someone else, but here's the thing. The game's not out yet. The game's not even on the radar yet. You know, we're just talking about it. So the idea is that we're basically coming together and going pie in the sky. We're going as crazy as we possibly can, and then we'll tailor it to be a little bit more realistic when we get to that point. But for now, we're just going to have fun, come up with as many ideas as we can, and make, you know, go with our dream project. So you either have to focus on the crawlers. Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree. All right, so summon crawlers. Summon crawlers. Summon 2 crawlers that move quickly and jump around enemies. Crawlers deal medium damage and have medium health. Should probably put this up here too. Night Pack has low damage. Night Pack minions have low damage and low health. So summon 2 crawlers that move quickly and jump around enemies. Crawlers deal medium damage and have medium health. Do we want to add, like, so Lachlan makes a good point, some sort of stealth component. Do we want them to have like some sort of occasional stealth component? Like, occasionally the crawler will like burrow into the ground and reappear a few seconds later. That way enemies kind of that may be working to kill them, they get distracted, they go into the ground, they come back up. You know what I mean? They kind of breaks the opponent's attention. All right, cool. Crawlers will crawlers will occasionally burrow into the ground and reappear, breaking crawlers will occasionally exactly. Crawlers will occasionally burrow into the ground and reappear, attacking enemies from a different angle. Something like that. Steven, you are all about this millipede thing, man. You're freaking me out. Yeah, so, all right. Ability 3, I think we're all kind of in agreement that ability 3 needs to be something really tanky. Guys, put your ideas in the chat. I just got to go to the bathroom real quick. I will be right back.
What do you guys want ability 3 to be? Basically, I'll add some comments. Yeah, I can see it. Should summon. If your guys' ideas coming, I'm going to just bon adding them.
All right. Here we go. Ability 3 What I miss? Sunday stream. Okay. Tunnels. Let's go. Ability 3. Should summon Necrophage. Big tanky thing. Bone Devil from D&D. I don't know quite what that is, but I like the idea. Undead Schwark. Deathly Hollow.
I just added the comments there while you were away, so you can see them.
Cool. Thank you. How about, so what about that like Outlander thing that they just revealed? Like something like that? Or do we want it like, because he kind of looks like an undead crazy thing. Bone Devil. Let's see what we're talking about here. Oh, these guys are crazy looking. All right. We got to have some sort of big hulking thing as a defensive, as a protector. I totally forgot I had those activated. It just scared the crap out of me. Oh my god. It just scared me to pieces.
It's funny because it's a necromancer that we're working on, and the zombie just popped up.
Yeah.
Thanks for subscribing.
It's honestly, I think it's just set up to like, somebody subscribing to the channel. I don't think that person is actually in the stream. I don't know how to turn it off. Do we want to just go with like Undead Guardian? Oh, that's an interesting concept. It's a gross concept, but it's an interesting concept. Who would have thought a Necromancer would be so hard to design? He's got to be something that's a protector, right? So he shouldn't be... Your Leapers are your DPS. Your Night Pack are kind of your like overwhelming component. But to get out of here with this stupid cat, this millipede, you crazy SOB. I hate bugs. You're freaking me out with the millipede.
Yeah, hates water and bugs.
Hates water and bugs. Two things I hate. I would be okay. That's, you know what, Ethereal, that's not a terrible idea. I would be okay with some sort of like big... No, I'm just messing with you, Steven. Some big like spider protector class. So I think morally misguided. I think that's a cool concept for the ult. I think for the ability 3, we need to come up with some sort of defensive. Could the Necromancer ride the spider? No, I don't think so. But I think the idea that we just like Ethereal just said, shoots webs that slow you down. I think that's kind of cool. Some sort of like big hulking spider that's got high damage, or sorry, high health, low damage, but has some sort of utility to it. I'm kind of into that. I don't know what a Praetorian is. Should I look that up too?
A concept art.
Oh, the concept art. I gotcha. Not gonna lie, I'm still liking the spider idea. It's the best one. I think it's the best one we've heard so far.
Is this like a defensive thing?
So, ability 3 is a larger summon that acts more as a defensive, like a defensive ally. So it's got high health, low damage, but has some utility to it.
So what if like, ability 3, you're able to summon skeletons and you yourself turn into a skeleton, so you just see a bunch of skeletons. This allows the Necromancer to get away, but also maybe cause some damage.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So something like a like almost like a distraction type thing.
Yeah, so you you basically see a bunch of skeletons spawn, and then you yourself turn into a skeleton.
That's a cool concept.
Which allows you.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. So like basically, it's kind of like Mirage and Apex Legend, right? So you would summon. It's like mirror image, right? So you would turn into a skeleton, and you would summon, say, 4 other skeletons that all look the same. It would give you the ability to run away. So it's almost like your escape ability or your flanking ability.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. Do you guys like that? Instead of going with the big hulking thing. Because we haven't really done much in terms of... Yeah, I think that's a really cool ability. All right, so what are we going to call that?
I have no idea. Remore. Where's the name?
Yeah, Remore. We need a sweet ass name for this thing. So the idea is... Ability 3 is you turn into a skeleton and you summon 4 skeletons. That way, and they all kind of start running randomly. That way, your character, the Necromancer, you only have, say, 5 seconds, 6 seconds to run away or to flank, right? So it's basically your ability to escape the enemy. Reality shift, close-ish.
Skeleton mask.
Skeleton squad, a little too campy for me. Skeleton scurry, skeleton shift, skeleton. How about one with the undead? Me and the boys. Ooh, Bone Mirage. Bone Mirage, that's cool.
I like that. Yeah, Bone Mirage.
Bone Mirage. Do we like Bone Mirage, guys? All right. Oh, Trice. That's a cool concept too.
Oh.
All right, yeah. All right. Here we go. So, all right. So we're gonna start here. We're gonna do a Bone Mirage. Swiggity thinks we can do better, but listen. Hear us out. Hear us out. All right. So Bone Mirage. The Necromancer transforms into a skeleton for a limited period of time. At the same time, 4 skeletons, maybe a deep fog. I'm listening. I'm going to keep developing this, but you keep sharing what your idea is. At the same time, 4 skeletons spawn and run in random directions. After a period of time, the Necromancer turns back into his original form, and the fake skeletons explode, dealing damage and slowing down enemies it hits. How do we feel about that? Yeah, no, exactly, Remore. It's not a offensive ability. It's a utility ability. So the Necromancer transforms into a skeleton for a limited period of time. At the same time, 4 other skeletons spawn and run in random directions. They don't beeline for enemies, so it's not like a super offensive ability. They run in random directions. After a period of time, you turn back into the Necromancer, and the other skeletons explode. They deal a little bit of damage, and they slow any enemies that the explosions hit. What do we think? It's kind of a combination of like 4 or 5 different ideas that were in the chat at the time.
I think it's good. I think we move on to the ult.
All right, let's get the ult figured out.
I had an idea.
Yeah, Bone Mirage definitely needs a cooldown. I mean, it's still gonna require necrotic energy, but it feels like it does need a cooldown. Or maybe it doesn't require any necrotic energy and it just has a cooldown. You are all about this Noon Wraith thing, and I'm a huge Witcher fan, but I think we can do better than just summoning a Noon Wraith. On Ant Productions, make sure you put that down below because we've got a long way to go before we get to the drunkard.
I'm making a comment on
cool.
it, so yeah, I got it taken care of.
For the Necromancer ult, what about something? I like the veil, like the fog thing before. We haven't done anything with buffing. We said in his key features that he has the ability to team buff. What about something like all right, hear me out. Just throwing this random idea out there. So his ult is like pitch black. The whole map goes into pitch black. Only your team can see for a certain period of time. And then there's some sort of like during that period, your team can move faster, deal more damage, and your enemies take like small ticking damage. Like something like that, maybe.
OP.
It does sound a little OP, so I'm trying to figure out a way to make that work. Yeah.
Maybe you have. Maybe you have like something where, Ethereal said summons a lot of enemies and like a deep fog emerges, and then like just randomly, like maybe like things like pop out to deal damage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's already so many summony things, right? Because like the idea is the crawlers. I know. You're right. Creatures dip in and out. Abyssal consumption. Your enemy's vision is in the vicinity are robbed. Well, it's not like they're pitch black. They're just their field of vision narrows. Like they can't see as far type of deal. Like they wouldn't go completely blind. Swiggity Smith, that's a cool idea too. Like some sort of necrotic fire type of thing. I don't know if that feels like an ult though. You know what I mean? Ult Desolation. Surround becomes lifeless and enemies inside the area take magic damage over time. Reduce movement while casting spells. Oh, that's a cool idea. Or it needs to charge up to cover the whole map. Oh, okay. So just kind of going off of the idea that Remor just got me thinking. So what if the ult is a channeled spell, right? And so the Necromancer is the epicenter of that. The longer he channels, the more the darkness spreads. Like honestly, like it grows like this, right? So it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. It obviously has a maximum range where you just be able to sit at your base and do it. But it's a channeled spell, right? You can't cast any other abilities during the time. It reduces enemy vision. It deals a little bit of damage to them. But if you get stunned or if you get hit or something, then you get knocked out of it. You know what I mean? That way it's not super OP. And in that darkness, you have kind of like the hands coming out, like you guys mentioned with the fog thing. Like enemies are like you just see like little hands or something coming out at you. That's doing the damage. I think we can combine a lot of those ideas. Yeah, exactly. If you get hit, you're out of it. Oh, that's a cool idea. I don't know if it should be if you get hit, it knocks you out of it, or if you get stunned, it knocks you out of it. Like any sort of movement thing knocks you out of it, or if it's just a hit. Yeah, so anybody that's caught in it has their vision reduced, they're slowed down a little bit, and they're taking a little bit of damage. So it's like a little bit of everything. It's not overpowering. It's a little bit of everything. No, not even a little bit. I mean, yes, a little bit, but not. We're not putting too much stock into it on Ant Productions. Cause an AoE attack that damages enemies' life steals, and anyone that dies from it becomes a minion. That's not a bad idea if we want to go that route. We're going in a few different directions here. Death's Mist Parade. What a name. Oh, that's funny. I think there's a lot of really cool ideas. I think there's going to be opportunities to do those in other places. I'm thinking something like Eternal Darkness, something like that. Death's Mist Parade. That one still kills me. That's hilarious. All right, we're gonna write it for now. Don't worry, guys. There's gonna be plenty of chances to get your ideas in. All right, so the old Eternal Darkness. Well, he already can summon at least 2 different types of minions. You know what I mean? All right, Eternal Darkness. Channeled spell. Channeled spell. Question about this, though. Question. I'm going to throw this out there. Is the ultimate... Can the ultimate be triggered at any time? It just uses all of his necrotic energy up? Like, it's so if he's a scale of 0 to 100, if he has 100 necrotic energy, should he be able to use Eternal Darkness? You know what I mean? Think about that while I'm working this out. Oh, it's not going to be overpowering. It's not a kill your enemies thing. $75 need to be at least like 75 2-minute cooldown, something like that. All right, so it's a channeled spell. Any stuns can be knocked out.
But I like that it the Necromancer's health.
Say that again.
You can take some of the Necromancer's health, the ultimate ability, like it causes some self damage.
Oh, that's an interesting concept. Channeled spell can be knocked out by stuns knockback. Necromancer acts as the epicenter of the spell. Expands outward the longer it's channeled. Enemies caught in the darkness. So these are the things that happen to the enemies. Limited vision. Small ticking damage over time. Reduced movement speed. Allies caught in the darkness. Increased movement speed. Anything else for allies caught in the darkness? Probably not, right? A little bit of damage. Slight damage increase. Oh, I like that. I like that. Instead of increasing damage, enemies, highlight, probably gonna be streaming until 1:30. We'll give him slight regen, health regen, or magic resistance, something a little bit more utilitarian than a damage increase. Immune to crits. That's a cool idea. I like that. Immune to crits. Permanent HP. Holy crap. That is a concept. Oh, I like that. I like that too. Any damage done. Well, any damage done to enemies. I don't know how we would pull that one off, to be honest with you. Well, that's the thing, right? So if he has to use all of his necrotic energy up, he channels the spell. Yeah, I don't think giving any back makes any sense. Because he's got to use the any to cast the spell. I think this is limited vision, small ticking damage over time, reduced movement speed. Any allies in the darkness, they have increased movement speed. They're immune to crits. I think that's a lot of stuff for an ultimate. So here, let me just read this back to you guys. So Eternal Darkness is the ult. Get out of here. I'm not removing limited vision. I don't care if you hate it. I love it. All right, Eternal Darkness is the channeled spell that the Necromancer can be knocked out or with a stun or a knockback. The Necromancer acts as the epicenter of the spell. The spell expands outward the longer it's channeled. Enemies caught in the darkness have limited vision, small ticking damage over time, or reduced movement speed. Allies caught in the darkness have increased movement speed and are immune to crits. Well, I mean, you're going to be able to see, like, it's a growing spell. Like, you're going to know if you're in the darkness or not. You know what I mean? And we're not talking about, like, half the map is covered in darkness. It's, you know, however big the range is, right? The longer... He's got to be in a dangerous place. That's the kicker with this one. The Necromancer has to be in a relatively dangerous place to use the spell. And if he's channeling, he can't summon other minions. So while it does sound OP, it's going to be relatively easy to hit him with a knockback or a stun, considering he's in a relatively dangerous place. He can't be at his base using this ability. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? But again, if your allies are in this and the enemies are in this, the Necromancer is going to be right in the center of the action. So the team has to just be smart about hitting the Necromancer with a stun or a knockback to knock him out of it. And then he has no NE. So while I think we're thinking this is too much, I actually think it's easy enough to knock him out of it that it makes sense. It's like high risk, high reward. No, Lego, not complete black, just limited vision, limited field of view. Maybe the sides of the screen turn black or something like that. It's a channel, morally misguided. It's not a spell. It's not a casted spell. All right, now here's what we're going to do. We got 15 minutes left. I want to start the Dragoon before we finish the stream up. We got about 15 minutes. We'll come back to all these. Obviously, we're going to have plenty of time to come back to all this stuff. So let's go to the Dragoon. And we'll start this one going, and then we'll probably end the stream around 1:30. All right, so the Dragoon. What are we going to do with the Dragoon? Is this guy... we had initially talked about him as some sort of lancer, so like a higher damage tank that's got mobility. Is that something that we still want to kind of explore with him? He doesn't have a lot of like team, in my opinion. He doesn't have like a lot of team stuff, but he's a lot more of a fighting tank. Yeah, that's kind of where we created this Dragoon. That's what we were talking about. So the Dragoon, we don't know yet, Lego. Obviously, we have to figure that out together. But he's more of a movement. He's got higher movement, higher damage. He has very little utility in terms of like team play. He's more of a fighting tank. Yes, yeah, he's got a lot more of like being able to manipulate the enemy's positioning. Not necessarily fast, but he's like morally misguided said, he's a gap closer. He has the ability to kind of, you know, get into the fray and disrupt. He's a disruption tank, I guess is the best way to put it. Right? Because he's got a big old lance, so he's going to have a charge ability. He's going to have some sort of sweeping strike that knocks people back. So let's get into this. Let's get into this. So the vibe. Fighting tank. Fighting tank that can quickly close gaps and disrupt the enemy's movement. All right, so we're thinking, so key features for him, high mobility. Are these supposed to be, did I miss something? No, okay. So high mobility. Low damage? Would he be a low damage character or would he be a medium damage character? Fine, Lego. I'm fine with it.
Say medium.
Yeah, medium. All right, medium damage. He's got it. I do want a tank that has some sort of damage to them. Right, and he's a disruption centered moveset. So his moves themselves are not going to be super high damage. But his left click is going to have some damage capability to it. So that's all I mean by medium damage. Yeah, so he's a lower defense tank. He's not low defense. He's not like a Clothy or a Summoner, but he's got a lower defense because he's all about that mobility. So high mobility, medium damage, low defense, lower defense. And then ability to manipulate enemy movements. Okay, what are his weaknesses? What are his weaknesses? Easy to dodge, right? I saw somebody said something that his ability should be easy to dodge. Weak to magic damage. So easy to dodge. Weak to magic. Yeah, I like that. Easy to dodge, predictable, weak to magic, and weak to magic, and then susceptible to movement impairment. Chibi, we're working on our land classes still. We're talking about the Dragoon, our third tank class. All right, yeah. So let's go with that. So he's easy to dodge, he's predictable, he's weak to magic, and susceptible to movement impairment effects. All right, let's start with mouse click 1. What is mouse click 1? Is he going to do a stab? Because he's got a lance, right? He's got a big old lance. Stab? I'm thinking stab. Thanks, Chibi. Appreciate that. So jab, we're calling it jab. Is he going to have some sort of movement feature with it, right? Like, so if he's got the lance, is he going to, every time he lunges, does he lunge forward a little bit? Or is it just kind of like he can kind of pokes? He can charge it to lunge. Oh, hold on. Before we do this, though, before we do the ability, we should talk about his passive. What is his passive going to be? Every time he lands a hit, he gains movement speed, something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Every time he lands a hit on a hit, he gains 1% movement speed. All right, what are we going to call that? Yeah, it caps out at like 20% movement speed or something like that. Adrenaline. I like that. Do we like adrenaline? Yes. So it stacks with successive hits. So it starts a timer, right? You hit somebody, it starts a 20-second timer, and you basically just have to keep hitting, right? But it ticks off. Collateral Nitro. What is up with you? You got the craziest names today. Pumped up. That's funny. I like adrenaline. Adrenaline makes sense to me. Trail mix? We're going with adrenaline. All right, so adrenaline. Adrenaline. Every time the Dragoon lands a hit, he gains a stacking buff that increases his movement. Are we doing movement and attack speed or just movement? Yeah, it only works with mouse 1. Okay. Increases his movement speed. Hit with M1. Okay. We're just doing movement speed. All right, jab. Takes a step forward and lunges with his lance towards the enemy. Deals moderate damage, but is a precision-based ability, right? So it's a lot harder to land it because it's a, it's got like a reticle like that, but it does a little bit more damage, which is what I was talking about before. Like he's a medium damage tank because he's got a more skill-based attack. Are we all cool with that? We're actually almost done, Knight of Doom. Almost done. Oh, that's interesting. Should mouse 1 have the ability, so if he holds mouse 1 down and lets it go, he can charge forward with it? That may be a cool way to get the charge in there. Just not like a full-blown charge, but just a way to kind of get a little bit further out if he needs to. Like only like a couple yards. I kind of like that. That's really cool. All right, so if held, yeah, the Dragoon charges up his jab. If held, the Dragoon charges up his jab. When released, charges forward and deals more damage. Okay. All right, cool. All right, mouse click 2. What are we doing for mouse click 2? I think it's more that it's not parryable, but it's easy to dodge, right? Because it's such a small reticle, right? If you're just shooting in the middle of your screen, kind of like McCree in Overwatch, like it's a very skill-based ability. Same thing with this guy. Shield Bash. I want something better than a Shield Bash. We kind of did that already with the Overlord. What could be like a unique thing? Yeah, lances are pretty, I don't know. You don't see too many characters in video games with lances, to be honest with you. Oh, that's a cool idea, Knight. So maybe like it's the sweeping strike, like somebody said, he jumps back and swings his lance in an arc. Something like that. Or that's a cool idea too, Steven. Should his mouse 2 ability be like a charge where he puts his shoulder down and flips somebody backwards? Almost like a utility ability to like get like Diablo in Heroes of the Storm, where like he grabs an enemy and throws him behind. I don't want to give him any sort of like lance throw thing, I don't think. Maybe for the ultimate. But I don't like the idea of him being like a ranged lancer. That doesn't really make sense to me. Well, guys, I will say we are already an hour and 36 minutes into the stream. Maybe we just call it here for now, and we come back. Obviously, this is going to be a long process. We only got basically a class and a half done. The 6 more hours, yeah. No, I unfortunately cannot do 6 more hours. But yeah, what was that, Nixon?
I was about to say maybe people can just like add comments.
Yeah, so I'm going to basically change the editing now so that you guys can only comment. Start working. I think Nixon did a really good job. Yeah, he already laid out all of the classes and the things. So go ahead and add comments to the classes that you're interested in, right? So if you have a vibe for the drunkard, put it in there. If you have a vibe or
show them how to add comments just in case they don't know how to add comments.
Adding comments is really easy. So like right here, you see how it has this like little add a comment button. So if I was to click here and then over on the edge of the paper here, it should be add comment. So I could click there, add comment, you know, I want the key feature to be whatever. And then you just hit comment and then it'll pop up. All right. So add your comments to any class that you want. All of these classes you can add comments to. We have everything already laid out. So if you're really feeling the Lancer or the Arcanist, go ahead and do that. And, you know, we'll be looking at them again next time. Probably going to be next week. Unless we get a blog post, the stream will most likely be next week for the workshop. So you guys won't have to wait as long. And I'll do another recap video to bring us back up to speed to where we were. So thank you guys. Thank you for everybody that was hanging out with us today. I wish we could keep going. I wish we could go for 10 hours, but we just can't do that. We got things to do. So we will see you next time. Obviously, I'll let you guys know when the next stream is coming. It will be in the Discord. So if you're not part of the Discord, make sure you join. Make sure you're part of the Orbis General Chat channel, because that is when that's where we'll be able to tell you guys what's coming next. All right. Thanks, guys. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at the Game Gurus, thanks for watching and play on. See you next time.